Hello, beautiful human. I am Zach. That is Dan. And today we are in the studio with an indie rock band that defies and redefines what a music video is and what is possible with music. And their brand new album is out right now. You got to listen to it. Plus, it's called And the Adjacent Possible. I need to unpack that title. Also want to unpack the tracks, but got to start with a brand new music video, which you have to see. There's a link below. It's for Love. Hi, guys. This is OK Go.
Yo.
Hi. Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yes. You guys are incredible.
Thank you.
You really have redefined time and time again for many years what a music video could be.
It's a weird little corner of the world to have like dug out for ourselves, but it's a fun one.
But do you genuinely feel that, right? When you're going in to create something that whatever you do next in that realm has the ability to push the envelope. You don't know the direction, but it will be in a direction and significantly.
I mean, what I feel is how lucky we are to be in a little category that doesn't have many definitions. So we just get to make a cool art project. Like if you're working in advertising, like you have to sell a thing, right? Like there's a client who cares, right? If you're working in narrative film, like people have expectations of what happens. If you're working even in pop music, it's like, well, what did they play it on the radio or not? But like in these music videos, the way we make them, no one else does that. So there's no rules, and we get to just like make an art project, and if we like it, it's done.
So genuinely attached to the roots of where it all began, which was when you were 11 in an art camp, or you're just your art teacher.
Yeah. We met at a nerdy art camp when we were 11 years old. Tim was there for theater. Yeah, I was there for visual art, and yeah, we were in a drawing class together, and we had an art teacher who, well, we had this amazing art teacher, and her assistant, also amazing. But I think always high. I mean, like
he's probably 18.
Yeah, he was like late teens and had a very funky body odor. Let's just put it that way. Something we didn't as 11-year-olds yet recognize, but super musky,
skunky.
And he would sit behind us and give us these sort of psychedelic instructions, like, "Hey man, touch the still life with your eyes, and then touch the paper with your hand, and then draw the difference." And he would just hang out over you for like 5 minutes to let that sink in, and just be like, okay, go. And that was where that was the moment our name was born.
Yeah, because we had been going since he told us to draw. So it was just like kind of a delayed.
It was an exciting
wisdom.
An exciting set of instructions to get. That like you're already there. Now start.
To remain, I want to talk about the music video we just saw, but we will get to the idea of like being able to remain true to that like ethos, to this idea that like you are just like kids creating. Very hard to do in a very compromising industry. But in your product, it remains, it seems like you haven't been compromised at all, and very much you approach this from the same exact vantage point at which you did when you were 11 almost.
Yeah, play has been a very big part of everything we have done as a band.
And that's lucky. Like that's I guess, what I mean when you say like, what do we think about when our videos are coming out or when we're setting out to make them? Mostly, I just feel lucky because usually by the time you get to you're decades into a career, there's all this sort of there's a structure you have to fit into, and there's a lot of jaded bullshit that comes along with that. Like it's really, really hard to just find the place where you get to make stuff for fun and where you get to play, and luckily for us, the thing that like we had a big like radio song in 2002, and we could have been one of those bands. It was like it got to number 20 on the charts, which was just enough for our label to keep us and give us another record, but not enough for us to be the next Strokes, and and it meant that on our second album, they kind of just didn't pay much attention. And the thing that exploded was us dancing on treadmills.
Your second album would change your life. And that was something that I realized today is like a lot of people fall into the trap of having a hit single on their debut album, and then they go into the sophomore slump. Whereas you kind of reversed that idea. But you did have some traction album number one. But to your point, enough to stay afloat and kind of also remain under the radar.
We were lucky to be left to our own devices in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah, like if the label had really gone after our second record, like if we'd been big enough for them to really take a big swing at it, I don't think the treadmill thing ever would have happened. It was like we were left to our own device. It was sort of like, well, let's just do the ridiculous stuff we like to do, and that's what exploded. And I mean, it's a double-edged sword, obviously. Like when you're one huge hit, like we got a Grammy for that, and it was us doing a ridiculous dance on it's not just you're a one hit wonder, you're a one stunt ridiculous hit wonder, and we knew immediately like our gravestones are going to read those treadmill dudes, like this is the thing we'll be known for. But what we can do is lean into it and just be like, all right, well, I guess we're the people who get to chase this other weird kind of thing, and so let's see if we can just do this.
And by the way, like we're going to go through it all. I can make the case that like you are not just the treadmill dudes. You are comprised of so many iconic music videos that outside of the records themselves hold a place in culture and have visual identity that's instantly recognizable. I mean, Upside Down, there's so many of them. And the other thing too was like in a world where like maybe like culture and where it shifts can like compromise like where a band goes, you ended up utilizing it to your benefit. Like YouTube at that time was this fledgling thing that was just desperate for content, desperate for eyes, and like what virality meant was totally different than what it means today.
Yeah. Wildly different, yeah.
And I know because like our show existed in some way, shape, or form back then when you literally set up, I mean...
I don't know if you got this email, but the founder of YouTube, Chad, we got an email from Chad at youtube.com.
That's crazy.
Like, I saw your video. Will you put it on our channel? Like that's how small YouTube was. And that's how lucky we were because, I mean... that just couldn't happen now. Like all of the eyes in the world on sort of one thing exploding because people were passing everything around via links. Like it was really, really organic back then. Like now everything, of course, is algorithms, and people try to game them, but you can't. It's too nuanced and sophisticated for people to just like. Make their thing, if that makes any sense.
But I remember in the email too, he was sort of asking us like, would you want to make some stuff for the website? And we were like, we don't have time for that. Even though like everything we were making was, perfect for it.
Yeah, I remember being like, more stuff to make.
I don't think we realized what we were making at the time,
totally.
that it would work there.
But like when you say like more stuff to make, like what is that? How do you define that? Is it the choreography for treadmills? Like when you have that, and I want to just understand, and we need to talk about love because a song about your children turns into this. If you dissect the music video, it's like layers of very deep messaging.
Yeah,
from the use of robots to reflections to the use of the other band members. It's like we're all one, but also AI, but also the light. Like it's like it really has the ability to like be dissected in a deep and meaningful way.
Thank you. I mean the song is about about my new understanding of love, having had children. That like. That dream you have where you're like in your childhood home, but then there's an extra door and it leads to some like a airport or something, like some huge place that you never knew was in your house. Yeah. To me, having kids sort of did that to my understanding of love, where it's like I have spent most of my life in relationships and thought I knew what love was, and then this. Like it's all these familiar things, but in this unbelievable way, and the world just fresh and new again, and absolutely blows my mind how that we should be allowed to exist. I mean, it's so crazy that in this vacuum of nothingness, a little bit of matter gets to come together in these little pockets that have consciousness and love, and that we create each other through it. Like that my kids are here, like grabbing my hand, trying to show me what the world is astounding to me. And I know every parent has gone through this, but that's the beginning of this song, was sort of like realizing that the only song that holds us all together is it's all one giant love song. And that is so simple and that is so infinite is where the video comes from. That like it reminded me of when you take two mirrors and put them together, and all of a sudden these two flat surfaces become infinity. And that's exactly what the video is just us playing with mirror tricks. The reason there's robots involved is because we wanted to be able to get those mirror tricks exactly right. We wanted to be able to control them exactly. And it made for a really, really fun art project to just be like, what would we do if we had 30 robots and as many mirrors as we could count? Yeah.
Well, really cool use of technology.
Thank you.
Well, we just watched a 4-minute music video. How long do you think that whole process took start to finish to plan and record?
About 4 months. About 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Our first, like, the process was 1 week of testing and play in August. It was just our two co-directors. I directed it with Miguel and Aaron, and we all got together with the band and just a bunch of mirror chunks and just played. Just like, what happens if we do this? What happens if we do that? That gave us enough ideas for what we wanted it to be. About a month later, we spent a week with robots. Miguel has a lot of experience with robots, and started trying to see, does it feel the same when robots do this as when humans do, and what could we choreograph them to do, and what are the sort of parameters we're working with. And then it was about a month and a half of working with previs artists to be like, we know what these tricks are, but how can we arrange them in a room? And then it was 3 weeks in Budapest where we shot it in this giant train station, building the thing.
That's
amazing.
How do you land on Budapest?
They've just got an incredible film industry there, basically. Like we were looking, like we had to price out what it would cost to do it in the States and what it would cost to do it in Eastern Europe, which is where like most of the robots we could find and film industry we could find could exist in the same place.
Overlap.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of film. Like it was the hotel we were in. It's like you'd go to breakfast and it was all Hollywood. Wow. It was like there's like 2 movies, 3 commercials. It was like that's like this other industry of Budapest is just.
Yeah, it's a city of beautiful architecture too, which worked to our advantage. Because we were able to film this in the hallway of a train station, basically. Like, it was built in the 1800s, I think. Right?
I think it's 19th century. Yeah,
yeah.
It's that wing was closed for renovations. It was built. The separate wing was built specifically for royals. It's like there's a much larger wing for the normals elsewhere, but like Franz Ferdinand hangs out in here. You know?
What a life.
So I was going to say, are these videos more expensive than a normal music video or less expensive? Because they're so simple but complicated at the same time.
Vastly more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we get asked by other bands all the time if we can direct a video for them, and it's like, well, we'd love to, but you're going to need to come up with a ton of money and also spend 9 months of your life on this. And they're like,
It didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Start out with treadmills.
I mean, you could literally tell though. Like you could tell that, but in this beautiful raw way, and it still maintains that rawness. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it hasn't lost it, but you can just tell because with time comes like, dude, the video for Love is a lot more shiny than, I mean. Yeah. Any of the videos going back 14 years.
Than 4 dudes on treadmills or whatever.
Or like dude, things hitting pianos, or the way you were able to daisy chain a bunch of stuff starting with dominoes. I mean, like this too shall pass. Beautiful video. But also like kind of leaning into larger digital trends at the time. I mean,
like what happened was way back when we were like we were doing ridiculous dances on stage, mostly to try to get people in indie rock clubs to just loosen up, because it was between 1998 and 2002 when we were on tour basically the entire time, we were just playing these tiny clubs, and it was be a bunch of hipsters smoking, sort of like shuffling and looking their feet and trying to like act cool, and we wanted Cheap Trick, Joan Jett, and Queen. You know, we wanted the car. We were like, have fun. And so we would like in this sort of sarcastic way, we would drop our instruments and do a ridiculous choreographed boy band dance, which at the time was like, you basically couldn't, it was more punk than being punk, because like you can't you can't be serious to that. Like you either have to smile or get the fuck out of the room. You know, like there's no. It's so ridiculous.
It's a triple reverse negative
exactly
kind of movement. Yeah.
So we would do that on stage, and we were coming up with a new one of those dances for our second album, and the rehearsal tape is what went viral. It was before YouTube. It was this site called iFilm, and like. Full 300,000 people downloaded this thing. And to us, that was like,
damn.
That was as many records as we'd sold. You know, it was like, and we were like, every one of these is a nerd in an IT department somewhere, but there are people. Like, and we don't have to go through the label, and we don't have to like, there's no stuff. It's just us and them. So let's make more stuff for them. And that's where the treadmill thing came from. It was just our idea, like our thinking was, put the camera here and what can we do? It was never like, how do you make a film? It was like, start the camera and we'll do something cool. And so every video since then, and there's been, I don't know, 25 of them now, are there. It's always about trying to keep the viewer in the room. That like, it's never about filmmaking. It's always about showing them what we're doing. Like we just want the camera to be there while we are doing something that they can experience.
At the very beginning, when you're going to hop on treadmills, do you have any sort of, do you care about the correlation to the actual record?
Yeah, very much so. In fact, that video we were going to do for a different song. We had this like sort of slower, more groovy kind of marching tempo song, and we thought it'd be that. And when we started trying things, it just didn't feel right.
But you knew the treadmills.
We knew we were going to do a treadmill thing. That I guess the what's the most honest way to say this? When we're making music, we are fighting tooth and nail to get that invisible space between the speakers to be the most awesome space you've ever been in, right? Like it's hard to write a good song, and it's hard to hear your own voice and love it. Like you can spend your life just trying to make one good song. So we're not thinking about videos at that time. We're just making music. When it's time to make videos, we have yet to be in a position where the ideas we find most exciting visually don't just automatically line up with something we've made musically, because it's all the same bunch of stuff. You know, it's all the same types of ideas, whether it's visual or audio or whatever. And so when we're making the videos, it really is a sort of we are trying to visualize the feelings in the music, not describe them, but like if this is the moment that the chorus hits and you're supposed to feel the surprise, that's when you need to have a visual surprise. You know, so like they're mapped to the music emotionally. It's not literally. Like we're never trying to be like, it's a love song, so let's watch two people fall in love. Like they're not storytelling, they're visual music.
I remember when we were getting ready to make the video for This Too Shall Pass, which uses the Rube Goldberg machine, we looked at we didn't know what song we wanted to use, and we looked at a bunch of Rube Goldberg machines online, just literally played every song on the record, and it's like really fascinating when you try to marry sight and sound together. So one song makes that image look goofy, and one song makes that image look slow, and one song makes that image look so exciting. You know, and so I feel like we do a pretty careful job of making sure that like sight and sound feel like they're together, you know,
I think about this a lot. Like when you're writing music, it's like for us at least, it often starts with chord progressions and beats and sonics, and you're looking to put two sounds together, and usually you just get a third sound. Every once in a while you get an emotion out the other side, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Like this extra dimension, right? And then lyrics, if you just describe what's in there, you flatten it, you kill it. You know, if this is a love song and so you just go love, 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 it's boring, right? Like or this is a love song, so I walked in and I fell in love. Like you can't. It's always about finding the thing that pulls it into a new dimension. And the videos are really just that again. It's sort of like, now we have this song. You can't just map it out. You have to find the dimension that this adds visually, you know? And I mean, on a practical level, there's very few places you listen to music now that aren't also showing you an image.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of like you're making a film whether you like it or not. The film might just be your album cover or a black screen, but when you make a song, like 2 out of 3 places that can be listened to, there's going to be a picture attached.
100%. And also, like, dude, same thing with podcasts. Like, we've been doing podcasts for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of that in video form.
Yeah.
Now people go, yeah, I listen to podcasts, and it's what they mean is like they're watching it. Do you know what I'm saying? And they threw it on YouTube, and they're viewing it or listening, moving around, and like, you know what I mean? It's a different relationship, but a lot of it is visual.
I want to ask you something about podcasts because I think about this all the time. My relationship to podcasts is much more similar to my relationship to music than it is to film. That like the reason I listen to a podcast is mostly to be there with somebody, right?
Yes.
Like it's like it's
Like
it's
in a therapeutic way. Like,
no, I guess I mean like in a that is experientially. I sit down to watch TV. Like I want to watch a movie. Like and then I usually don't want to see that episode or that movie again. Right? Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, there's something that really breaks through, but for the most part, that's it. But like music sits with me while I'm going through my life. Like that's what I listen to driving or doing the dishes or whatever. But it also like I want to hear the same song over and over again. I want to hear the same podcast, not literally the same content, but the same people. Mostly not because I want to learn about that specific topic, but I just want to be with my friends.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But by the way, like that is like at the core of what great like radio has always been. And yeah, what like there's a seat. That's how I describe it all the time is like I want this to feel like you have a seat at this table, part of this friend group, however it may be, you're in the room. So, I mean, that's at its core what it should be. And like a great product is that. And then great radio historically has been that just partnered with music, right?
Yeah.
Because I do think that like what comes with friendship is like, dude, music and friendship go hand in hand. This idea that like you navigate life and like there's also something about ears. Like it's the most like intimate thing. Like it's different than viewing something, you know, like and you're piping it into your freaking brain directly. There's also like a lack of senses. So you have like imagination going on.
Yeah.
It is like it's a layered thing, but it's beautiful.
I love Succession. But I don't feel like I'm like friends with all those people.
No.
You know, and when it's over, I'm like, that was amazing. I'm really sad we don't have more of those. But I'm not like, I miss my friends. You know?
But think about it, like the same way you would talk to like an actual friend, like on the phone, is through just the same way you're kind of consuming a podcast, you know?
Totally.
I mean, it's a one-way conversation, but you know, you feel like you're a part of it.
I feel like every friend has said to another friend, like, we should just record our phone calls and make a podcast. Every friend
But
says
that's
that.
also, I think, why people get so attached to music as if it's that, like, man, the Pixies, when I was in high school, I just refused to believe other people were listening to them. They were entirely mine.
Right.
You know? And of course, they're like the biggest band of all time, but they were also just mine.
11 years. That's the time it took between albums.
Oh, no. Is that true? Gosh.
Yeah, that is 100% true. I thought I was wrong for a second, but no, it's 100% accurate. I mean, can we talk about like why now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, our videos take a long time. That's the downside to all this, is that we like, if you spend 6 months making a video, you're not making a new record during that time.
Right.
And so after our last record, I think we toured and made videos for more than 3 years before we could even start working on something new. But then I went off and made a movie. I directed a movie with my wife for Apple called The Beanie Bubble.
It's great.
Thank you. Tim was in a movie, but we can't talk about it just yet.
Not yet, but soon.
So we were both off making things. Both Andy, our guitarist, and I had kids, and were happily sort of on break from the band because of that. I remember thinking like, it'll be hard 3 months where I'm not touring, and a year after my kids were born, I hadn't set foot outside of the house. It's just like I really like being with my kids. And then there was a pandemic. So all those things together added up, and we didn't think we were going on hiatus, but now we realize like suddenly this record is like a comeback album, which we did not mean it to be, but
Yeah, because 2015 to 2019, I think we were making videos and we were touring and all of that, and then 2020 hit.
We actually this is the first record we've had since our very first that has a video at release day. Like everything else, because we were doing it all ourselves, we just like it would take so long to get the music ready that we wouldn't be working on videos until after the record was out. This is the first time that we've been like, you know what, we're not going to put the record out until the video's
There's
done.
an album, there's a video, there's a tour. It's all lined up.
It's strategic.
It's almost like we've done this before, but it only takes 25 years to learn the basics of it.
I mean, but you are. That is true. I mean, like, how many hours do you think you've clocked just making music and making videos, not even dealing with the business side of things?
So many, and that's so wonderful. Like,
yeah.
I just can't believe how much of our lives we get to spend like chasing wonder. Like, do I like this thing? Is such a it's the most beautiful and pure relationship to the world around you. Is like, do I like the room better when this song is playing? And there's so few people who get to experience that as like as what they're doing with their life, and I just feel so blessed.
How is this album genuinely different than the ones in the past? Is it the lyrical content because of where you're at in life?
These are definitely the most heartfelt lyrics I think we've...
Yeah. I think we're also just the most comfortable in our own skin that we've ever been. And it's not... I don't remember once on this making this record, and we made this record over a couple of years, ever really referencing anything else. Like it just didn't like say it needs to sound like this or it needs to sound like that. Like we just, I think maybe for the first time felt just like what we want is enough, and that's what we're excited about. Without having to like think about what's cool in the world or what's it's just what feels most like us.
I feel like we were actively trying to plant a flag with most of the records we've made, and this time like our flag's been here a while. We know what it is.
What was it like working with David Friedman?
Dave Friedman is amazing, and he has we have recorded several albums with him. This one we actually produced ourselves and then just mixed with Dave.
I would say he's kind of the glue to all to this record. I remember kind of going in and feeling like we've got a bunch of really great songs. We feel good about them, but we're not quite sure if they all belong together or not. And through his mixing, I feel like, I don't know, he was able to say like, yep, they belong together. And here's why.
There's also we're sort of a mixtape band, if that makes sense. Like I think, when you hear Pixies, it's Pixies, right? When you hear Elliott Smith, it's Elliott Smith. Our songs, I mean, I'm sure there's people can hear them and tell they're us, but there's like, they range really wide. I remember the first time we ever sent demos to a label in the 90s being told like, this is great, but choose a style. And I was like,
we don't want
to. Like, our style is the music we love, which ranges from like, Prince to Fugazi, so we get to play it, now I feel like that's not weird anymore because history has sort of eaten itself. Like social media and digital culture has made it such that Billie Holiday is modern as anything
genre
else.
Agnostic is the society we live in.
Totally, and it means that like we go into Dave with a couple of songs that could have been written in the 50s and a couple that could only have been written in the last 3 years, and his sort of, he's kind of the fifth member whose backstop is really helpful in kind of taking that wide berth and narrowing it into what feels like one family of stuff. Like on this record, it was really helpful that he was like, no more horns.
Like, we wanted to put horns on everything.
I think there's 3 songs with horns on it, but he was like really good at being like, guys, you don't need horns on the other 8 songs, and he was right. He was right.
Just like on the conversation of like just genre a little bit there, it's like, does indie rock still exist? And you guys are very much considered independent and indie rock, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes to our own detriment run our own label. Like it doesn't. I mean, there's no. We have to do it all, but I don't know. I mean, indie has been like a genre for so long that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not people are actually independent or related to major labels. And when we were in high school, it was called alternative,
right?
You know, but it was like, what was Nirvana supposed to be alternative to? It was mainstream. You know, like it. As of their first record, no one knew who they were, but by their second one, they were the mainstream. So I don't know why it was still alternative. I think it. I guess it. I don't know what it means. I don't know if any genres make any sense anymore because
It's true.
You know.
Yeah, indie to me 25 years ago meant like this, like local somehow. You know, like this band's from Dayton, Ohio. This band's from Boston. This band's from Omaha. They're not on major labels. They're proper indie.
Once upon a time,
like
it also
that,
seemed to mean like they played instruments as opposed to it being like sequenced and built in Pro Tools and stuff.
Yeah, there was like a lo-fi-ness that I remember sort of attributing to indie rock music, which doesn't even really feel like that's part of it anymore.
And maybe like a sort of an artistic bent. You know what I mean? That like that it wasn't. The primary thing was emotion, not just making you dance.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. What do you do? You think it exists?
I don't know. I think independent artists should exist more today than they probably do. I think everybody still wants a label deal, whether it's for their benefit or detriment, you know?
Yeah.
And I do think that the world lacks tastemakers and there's no more gatekeepers. Like, the act of going and shaking hands and kissing babies, like, still exists to a certain degree, but it is so not what it was.
Well, because you know what it is? The gatekeeper is the algorithm.
Oh, totally.
And like with the first song on a record, actually, this is the one thing that happened after the rest of the record was
Impulse
written.
purchase?
Yeah, impulse purchase. We'd written the record, and I remember being actually it was a weekend. I was on a hike with my kids, and I was thinking about the record while they were running off, and I was going, you know what's the one really weird thing about this is that we haven't acknowledged what a ridiculous time it is for like a bunch of dudes to make a rock and roll record like and pretend it's the 60s or the 70s. Like here we are playing our instruments. Like it feels to me like we are that with. You know, the main audience for our album, direct audience, is an algorithm, right? Like it's a person-fed algorithm, but like you'll get to hear our song if the algorithm likes it. You'll get to see our video if the algorithm likes it. Like the only thing really listening is the algorithm, and in short order, like within a few years, if the AI predictions are true, like. This whole idea of like some dudes playing guitar in their garage is history, right? Maybe that's not true. Maybe that's all overstated. But it does feel a little bit like we've crafted a really nice flip book and movies are coming out tomorrow.
That is real, but I gotta say that like what it means for the future, I do not know. But what you guys have been doing since the very beginning, at its core, is more relevant today than it's ever been.
That feels true to me. That like now, there's like the way we talk about it is when everything is possible, nothing is special, right? That like I love how democratized creativity has become, but it also means there is no need for craft anymore, right? Like if everybody can make everything and now it's just a couple prompts make everything, then the output is no output is like any different than any other, right? Like it doesn't matter how much you put into it or how much you've learned or what craft you have. And so making things like really the hard way and being like, this is a very hard won human endeavor is like that much more rare a commodity. I think.
Feels like there's a premium on that all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So where do you guys as a band draw the line of what you'll use and what you won't use? Because like a stone only rolls downhill. You could have easily used AI to help that video.
Yeah, that's the one with all our like it was 64 phones each with one video on it, and then Logan made mosaic of those.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. We have no particular desire to be working with AI. We also have no, don't feel like we can keep our finger in that dike. Like the world is changing, and we had a video a lyric video come out, and we didn't even know this, but the guy who had made it had some of the transitions from one part to another had like the plugin that did it was AI, and the fury in the comments was insane, look, first of all, we love the video, we think it's cool, we don't care, but it was mostly that do these people not realize that the commenting they're doing is on a platform that is run by AI, right? Having worked in the other version of film, right, narrative film by a big studio making an Apple film, I know exactly what the sort of price point of each of these things is. When you walk into the music mix for your final thing, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour it is, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. When they can push a button and get the same results cheaper, they will. And everybody will. There's nobody who wouldn't do that, no matter how much they hate what AI means and what it's trained on and all that kind of stuff. It just is a functional thing. If you can make the backdrop cheaper, you will, right? That doesn't mean you'll generate the entire thing. It doesn't mean it'll take everybody's job, but it does mean that these tools are coming and fighting against it. It feels kind of ridiculous. What it means for us all is, I think, genuinely horrifying. That doesn't mean I'm pro it. It just it's not. It feels like a boring conversation to have. It's more like what are we going to do as humans when the tools make everything possible? How are you still creative when the only way you can express it is through prompting something? That seems kind of boring.
Do you think the video for Here It Goes Again, the treadmill, do you think it would have had the impact that it had if it was released today?
No.
Probably not. I think there's so much more out there these days. And to be honest, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it's probably the purest form of organic reach we've ever experienced, I would imagine, because it really was the dawn of YouTube. And that was sort of back in the days when if you had something that went viral, that meant for 6 months or something like that. And, these days I feel like
6 hours.
6 hours if you're lucky, so I can't imagine it being able to live that long.
Well, it's
now,
just the system is so finely tuned to this stuff now.
Yeah.
It's just a much more fine-grained system that has these smart algorithms combing the vast output of billions of people to find the moments that other people magically want to watch, right? And there was no system back then. The system was your mom saw it and was like, "Dude, you're gonna like this." Well, your mom probably doesn't say "dude" that way, but there was a lot of people saying "my mom sent it to me," so I send it to my stepmom. She sent it to my wife. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Organic travel.
Yeah.
Can we talk about impulse purchase again? You brought it up. The lyrics on that. Is it actually about an impulse purchase?
No, it's about. It's written to the beings that exist after the singularity. That we're if it's really only algorithms who are listening to our music now, and in 5, 10, 15, 30 years, we have all joined consciousnesses with the great network in the sky. If you can know everything, can you really still appreciate music? If you could hear and understand, can the algorithm actually appreciate what it's listening to? If it's listening to all music simultaneously. So we wrote it a song.
So it's a song to the algorithm.
Yeah, it is the first lines are I realize this doesn't make very much sense here, but are your probabilistic adjustments enjoying this, basically, because that's what AIs are, right? It's like tiny adjustments in probability based on something it sees. So if it sees you say the word "and" 1,000 times in a row, it goes, well, I guess people say "and" 1,000 times in a row, or at least one dude somewhere does. If everybody did that, then the AI would just start saying "and" 1,000 times in a row. But this song was just like, we're like, humans can listen to it, but but we want to let everybody know, like, we understand how ridiculous it is to make a like very organic human album right now in the last seconds of the human era, right? Like the Anthropocene is over. Humans are on our way out the door, and we'll just leave a nice song for the robots that come next.
You listen to a lot of podcasts, eh? You do. What hole are you in?
No, I know. It's because I don't listen to enough of them. I'm just like, I go dark, man. I hear a couple things about the coming AI revolution. I hide my head under my pillow.
You really? I mean, it is real. Like, I'm not like, well, it's not bullshit. But
yeah.
But wow. Okay.
Well,
Will it be a revolution? Is there not just the plug? I'm confused.
When the Beatles made an album, they were making an album for all the people who are listening right now, right?
Yes.
And they were also without whether or not they were thinking about it, making a something that would last forever, right? That everybody would be listening to these for however long people listen to records. And we're suddenly in an era when it's like that forever seems a lot shorter than the past. It used to be that the future went on forever, right? Rock and roll had only been alive for like when we were listening to pop music in the 80s and 90s growing up, rock and roll had existed for less than 50 years, right? Depending on how you count it, 30 years. And now it's like rock and roll's been around for a long time, and it would appear that the making of albums, that like people sitting there with instruments in hand trying to struggle with chords and lyrics, like there's no need to do that come a year from now. You just press the button. And people should still do it. People might enjoy still doing it, but it'll be a vanity. Like there's the algorithm. I mean, Spotify's already using fake AI bands to pay themselves royalties.
I know, it's crazy.
Right? Like,
well, it's twofold. It's like they pay themselves royalties, but also the larger pool of songs dilutes the royalty payments as a whole, right?
Right.
Because it's like a spin versus the library or some shit.
Exactly. But like the more they can replace, like the more they can replace us with AI us, the less they have to pay us, right? But AI us is infinite. You can make as many AI songs that sound like OK Go as you want. And frankly, if you played me 100 of them right now, I bet there's like 3 of them I'd like. But it doesn't even matter. Like,
that's so scary.
Right?
You're scaring everybody.
Have you tried it?
But no, I haven't. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's. I'm assuming that the publicly available stuff, they've got guardrails on it, so it can't mimic a specific band. But it's not like the technology isn't there.
Yeah, totally.
And
no, it is. It's somewhere on this campus.
Yeah, and
can you feel it?
So whether or not it takes over in the way that I am like scaring everybody about isn't really the point of the song. It's more like the only way to record a rock and roll song in 1965 was to play the instruments, right? And like a digital recording and editing somewhat changed that in the last 20 years, but basically it's still the only way to make a record is to make it. And now, like within the last 6 months or the last 2 years or within the next 5 years, depending on how you want to measure it, that's not true anymore.
No, you need nothing.
Right? It's like, and so the idea of making this opus our best record ever, like I really feel like it's our best record ever. I'm so in love with this album. And it feels like we're releasing it 1 second before midnight, and at midnight the world explodes.
No pressure?
No pressure.
Yeah,
but that's
cool.
why we needed to at least have the first song be like, hey, future robots, we're here with you.
Dig this.
Dig it.
Let's be friends.
Yeah. I
like
mean,
that.
let's sing along.
Can you take us back to the day when you wrote Going Home?
Oh, please. Great record.
Thank you. Well, Tim wrote the original demo for that. And Yeah, I was really, really struggling with the lyrics to that song because it's a really, really like heartfelt, earnest song. Kind of knew what it was supposed to sort of be about, and I was on a train going up the West Coast. It was like a little bit south of Santa Barbara still, and the train just stopped. And the like power went off. It went dark. It was nighttime, and the song I had like, and the song which I had been like running over and over and over in my head, like kind of came in all at once. And it doesn't usually do this. Like they don't usually. I struggle with lyrics a lot, and it just sort of like came in all as one burble of things. And I was like, I think that's the song. And it's about like going home in the metaphorical sense. It's sort of about what's important in life and how to center yourself in a like deeply troubling and distracting universe. And as soon as that happened, as soon as like I got the song down, the conductor came on and was like kind of this frantic way being like, I'm really sorry for the silence, but there's been an event. And the train had hit somebody. The train had like somebody had jumped out in front of the train and died.
I remember that night he had texted me and told me that part of the story, and I was like, "Oh my God, like that's horrible." And then you were like, "But guess what? I got the lyrics to that song."
Yeah, but there's something different here, right? So like we talk to artists all the time, obviously, and then they sit on our couch and like there's a big deep theory, and it's very well documented at this point of like this idea that ideas float, right? They hang over you and they hang with you, right? And if they
you just get access.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like there is this idea that this. By the way, I also had been on a train one time that somebody had jumped in front of.
Wow.
And yes, and I was in the front of the
did you see it?
I didn't see them, but I once I understood, I knew we had run over something.
Yeah.
Because I'd sit in the same exact seat every day commuting into work, and it was like in the front of the car by the conductor.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And I had also had a friend who was hit by a train.
Wow.
So like it's more common than people think.
Yeah, I looked it up. It was like several times a week in the U.S. I think once a week on average in California alone. But what was interesting to me was that sort of the feeling that it was like someone had left this as a parting
That's what
gift,
I'm saying. Like this release of like this is something that was with this person that needed to be told, and there was the closest person who could tell that story. And who had the ability, that connectivity, that communication ability to like talk to that idea cloud and grab it. It's real shit.
Bob Dylan was sitting next to me. He didn't get it. Bob Dylan was not sitting next to me.
It would have been a fight for the idea cloud.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he was plugging his brain into Neuralink.
But there is something there, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am not like... I'm not the most mystic of my friends, but I definitely had it definitely felt like something otherworldly was happening.
By the way, you can listen to the record and you can listen to the whole album, and the adjacent possible is waiting for you. It's on Amazon Music. There's a link below. Can we talk about Better Than This?
Yeah.
Definitely about your family, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot about family in this, and I feel I guess I am as middle-aged as I am. The connective tissue in that song has it as strongly as it is anywhere on the record is sort of about how it is about this recognition of the important stuff being in our peripheral vision, like that you can't that song is about heaven being a state of being that is very ephemeral and and you can never quite grasp, right? It's being there in the moment and feeling it is all you're ever going to get. And
the line is a glow in the margins, right?
Yeah, a glow in the margins. Yeah. And it really, like, I think we've had an amazing career. We've had an amazing several decades of like getting to chase these crazy ideas and everything, and it's all very self-centered. Like, and not, I don't mean that in a negative way necessarily, but like you go for the thing you're chasing this thing within yourself that you're trying to put out there in the world. And having a family has done an amazing job of decentering me and pointing me at all of everything else there is, and realizing that like, no, that for as proud as I can be of a song and as happy as I can be with a concert or a show or anything we've made, that will never be heaven, right? The glow in the margins is just being there.
Presence is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Really, it's hard to be present.
It's really hard to be present unless you have kids and they make you be present.
Why is that? Is it because you have to be aware because they can like die at any second, and then
There's
your
that,
responsibility?
but no, I think it's kind of because they don't give a shit about all the dumb grown-up stuff in your mind. You know, it's like, especially when they're really young. Like I had twins; they're 6 years old now, and they were probably 4 when I wrote that song. And they're so honest about wonder. Like they've got a ton of it because the entire world is confusing and new, right? But they also have no patience for bullshit, and they have. And like they don't, all the sort of like complex add-ons of how this might operate in culture don't matter. Does it make you go wow or does it not make you go wow? And that's it. You know, they keep you right there. And like, I mean, and then there's just like the really simple things, like if you don't feed them enough, they turn into assholes. And like, and then you're like, oh right, that's why I've been an asshole for the last 3 hours, because I didn't eat.
Do they make you a better artist?
I think they have. I mean, they've certainly focused me. That like, I know when I'm working, it's a more precious commodity that time. And yeah, I think like, and they raise the bar because it's like their sense of wonder at the world around them is what I'm like. If I don't feel that way about my own work, then it's not there yet. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
So when do you, let's, like, at what point in the process do you need to feel that to know that it's right?
Boy.
That's a good question.
I guess whenever you kind of check in, like you most of it, you still gotta like work, you know, like it's still, there's still recording the song is still like, no, do another take. That's not good enough. I mean, you know, there's like the boring stuff of kind of doing it all. And that's, It's not like you can like skip along on a cloud of amazement. But if you can't pull back and listen to the song and go like, yeah, that's more than just sounds, that's emotions, then check it.
We've actually had a little bit of time with this record to, that's a good question, like when do you know? And we've been able to take a few weeks off and decide later. You know, there's a handful of songs on this record that we thought were done. 3 months later, we went back into them and re-recorded, rearranged, because we just didn't feel like, yeah, that's it.
When do you know?
Yeah.
In regards to what? Like, the
like
record's great?
when do you have that? Like, do you know during the interview? Do you know during the edit? Do you know when you see something out in the world and you go, oh, I'm gonna have that person on?
I think I know right in the moment. Like, I think I know when it's flowing as it's going, and I leave and I go, oh, that was really good. Yeah, that was really special. That was interesting. I feel grounded. I also didn't feel bored. I felt like I give a lot of intense focus. Like, I don't know if you can tell, I probably stare at you very intensely, but like, you know, there's a lot of energy in that, you know?
Yeah.
And that energy remains the same no matter what, but there is something where you feel like as it's going like, oh, this is good. And also like there is something like, but we have psychological signs. Like people have tells, like you're going to get comfortable during this conversation. And like, that's how we know we both have locked in.
Yeah.
You know, like we've done our job right. And then like you feel comfortable enough to just like kind of just be how you would be in any other conversational casual situation.
Yeah.
So
how are we doing?
You do. 2 thumbs up.
I'm comfortable with you. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah. You only know him.
What did he say?
How many years? 30 years?
We've not, more than 30
More than
years.
that.
We actually the camp that we went to is called Interlochen. It's in Michigan, and it's an arts camp, but they started as a music camp, so it's like the music is still kind of the biggest focus there. And we were invited to play there in the big amphitheater one summer, I guess, a few years ago, and realized hadn't done the math, but realized that we were either on the day or within a week of the 30th anniversary of the day we met.
Isn't
that crazy?
Yeah,
great.
pretty special.
Yeah, like when you know, and like those things are undeniable. But was there a moment when you actually knew that this was a creative partnership that could last forever?
I mean, if we said yes, I think kids think that kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I ever thought to think that. I mean, pretty early on, we were like, we should start a band, like around 11,
We did.
Yeah.
We tried to make a band. I played violin. I hadn't played any guitar before, so we were like, well, I guess I'm the one with the strings. Give me the guitar. We borrowed a guitar from someone. Tim was the singer.
Yeah.
We wanted to be the Dead Milkmen. Do you remember the Dead Milkmen?
No.
They were like kind of absurdist punk band.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that to do the kind of stuff we do, that like not putting aside all the weird art projects and everything, just to be in a rock band, you have to be sort of deluded, right? Like it is statistically not going to happen, right? Like if you're a person who can like assess what's in front of you and go, this is a good or a bad idea, nobody would be like, it's a good idea to try to be in a rock band. Like it's never going to happen, and even if it does, you'll never make any money, and you'll die in destitution. So, you have to be, you have to be sort of crazy, right? And believe against all odds in something. But to make it happen, you also have to be rational enough and practical enough to just like work through the years and years and years of like BS that comes along with it. Like nobody just gets it, right? And so I think that thing that as kids I remember feeling, which was just like, I don't remember thinking that you and I were going to be in a rock band growing up. I remember more feeling like we're so lucky we've got such awesome friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That like we've got these, that we're so inspired by the people we hang out with, and that it's really fun to make this stuff.
So when did it officially become a job?
We started treating it like a job, like a full-time job in our early 20s, I would say.
Yeah, 99, 98.
Yeah.
Where I got out of college in 98 and was really good at Photoshop, and nobody else was good at Photoshop back then. So I could get a job working for an ad agency, one of the first like all digital ad agencies, doing just like photo retouching for them at $50 an hour. Which in like 90
Back then, you're rich, bro.
I know, dude. It was incredible.
Also, what a crazy time to put Photoshop on your resume and be like the only guy.
Right. It was.
What the fuck?
It was like if you knew Photoshop and Illustrator, you were a professional designer.
That's crazy.
Like I was like, I've had no design training, but I know this tool. You know, and
you are Da Vinci. Come on in.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were, bless them, they would be like, do you want a full-time job here? I was like, nope, because the freelance rate was $50 an hour, and you'll pay me like you're still going to pay me full time. So I remember like I worked for like 4 or 6 months, and that was enough to pay for all 4 members of the band to live for the year, basically. And we went on tour, and that was like we could survive. Like we didn't really have to make money for the first like 6 months or something. And we just toured and toured and toured. And I mean, I remember doing doing a little bit of work for that. Like I got a laptop with a color screen.
No way.
It was a big deal back then. And so that like between shows, I could like sit in the back of the van and like, you know, do photo retouching. But that was the last like real job I had. I mean, we got signed to a label that year, and it took us about a year to make that record. Yeah. And you know, bands when they first start, like in a major label situation like that, you're basically touring at a loss. Like you lose money touring, and the label fronts you money for that, which of course all comes out of your royalties later. But it was enough to get us going.
Yeah.
I mean, Here It Goes Again is a smash record. Also syncs, and it's like it's timeless.
We do pretty well on that stuff. It's not like, look, if we had hits of that size 20 years earlier, we'd be like very wealthy.
Interesting.
It changed a lot around that time. Like basically our first record came out during like the last 2 years of CD sales. Our second record was already
Napster was a very big thing.
Wow.
iPod time. Yeah. You know, in fact, I remember this because our second record, they were like, "You're a college band. It's college kids who listen to you guys. Guess who steals music? College kids."
Right.
And so we're going to make. We're going to put software on your album that will make it so that it can't go on an iPod. This is before iPhones. And we were like, guys, we fully want people to pay for music, but this is not the right way to do it. Again, it's like the AI question now. It's like you can't stop people from using iPods. Or if you tell people not...
They're going to do it.
Like, right. Or they're just not, or they'll just not be able to listen to our music. Like you're just like stabbing us in the face. And so we made we made a secret, I mean, we made the bonus track on our album be 34 minutes and 17 seconds long, which was, and it was just a recording of my girlfriend sleeping, and we were like, this is we made the story up that was like she had sent it to me when we were recording. The album was recorded in Sweden, and this was the most heartfelt love letter I've ever gotten. It has to be on the record.
Deeply personal.
Deeply personal. Yeah. And they kept on getting their, like, QC kept on kicking the CD back out, being like, the software won't work, and it was because we'd figured out exactly how many bytes there are on a CD, and we'd filled up every one of them. So there was no place to put the software.
Wait, that's crazy.
It worked. They
That's
didn't figure it out.
Amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, look, I wish people would pay for music. I think that'd be great. But you also can't tell your fans who have iPods that they can't listen to you. That's crazy. Yeah.
Who's harder to work with, the Muppets or NASA?
Muppets.
Muppets have more attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Punks.
Divas.
No, they're so funny. You know what it is?
They're amazing.
The Muppeteers are so...
They're so gifted.
They're so gifted and they're so dark. Like, they say the most fucked up shit when they know the camera's not rolling.
They're the most amazing. Yeah, they're the most, like, amazing improvised actors. It's incredible. They really don't have a script most of the time.
I didn't really think about this till we were working with them, that, like, there's a difference between Kermit and Superman. Like, anytime Superman says something, it's been written out by somebody somewhere. Like, there's no, he's completely fictional. But Kermit, there's only one guy who's allowed to do Kermit at any given time, and that person, whatever they think, is what Kermit's going to think. And so, like, I remember the first time I ever met Kermit was backstage at the Tonight Show and when we then saw Kermit 6 months later, he remembered. Like, you know, he's not a totally fictional character, right? Like, and he has this, and he'll have like a weird dark joke about it because he knows who's editing him. Like, it's not going to get out there in public, so he can say something totally ridiculous, and he does.
Because they are people. Like, when somebody, and it's only changed hands 3 times, right? Yeah. It's Jim Henson to some other guy, and now it's gone to a new actor fairly recently in the last couple of years. Like, they're acquiring the essence and the idea of this what is a being, right? Like, because puppets are an extension of a human being, and through that will pick up its own mannerisms, its own personality, etc. And like, it's like it is this beautiful thing. To your point, like even Mickey, right? Like, you know, Mickey. Every time you're going to see Mickey, it's highly strategic, surgical, fabricated in the sense that like everything he's saying is against like a world, like a word cloud and like a character cloud of how Mickey could and would respond to something.
And Kermit's a dude.
No, it's a person.
Yeah,
and incredibly present.
Wild.
Yeah. Also, you'd think that you'd be like staring at the human who's on the ground. Like there's a guy who's on the ground doing like with his arm up in the air, but I've lived with Kermit since I was 4 years old. Like, he's way more real to me than whoever that weird guy with his hand up his butt is. You know? But
when you go like they're dark people, like think about the vantage point of life that they're stuck with.
Yeah. Well, they're
gifted, but they have a very unique perspective, quite literally, on almost all of it.
Yeah, working with the Muppets was a huge, huge career high for us.
Oh yeah, a total dream come true.
Our drummer had a staring contest with Animal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he win?
No.
No.
Animal doesn't need to blink if he doesn't want to. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. But also Animal. I mean, if you ever beat Animal in anything, that'd be like.
No one wants to watch that.
Causing some kind of singularity of its own. You know, like that's Animal's. I think maybe the greatest being there has ever been.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How does this still work today? Because like, would you consider this some sort of like a creative marriage between the two of you, the larger band?
Being in a band is a weird thing because it's kind of like being in a family, and it's kind of like being in a business. And like if you really ran a business the most like efficient way possible, you would never act the way you do with your family. And if you really ran a family the way you do, like you'd be very hard to have a good business. So we're always sort of navigating those two things.
It's a weird hybrid.
It is a weird hybrid, but the thing that it's nicest to have is a deep well of friendship and understanding of one another, because there'll be lots of stuff you don't agree about, or there'll be lots of things that are like hard to navigate. And it's much easier if the primary reason you guys picked each other was that you like each other. If we had picked each other because like he's the greatest slap bass player who has ever existed, then like when you get in a fight about something, it doesn't really matter how good his bass playing is. But if you pick him because he's your best friend, it's a lot easier.
It's beautiful. It's really
I
cool.
wish I could fucking play bass though.
You should figure that out.
I'll get there.
Yeah, it's TikTok. Man.
What about when Tim shaved his face? Was there a large discussion around that? When you walked in, I didn't recognize you at first.
Yeah, it's a new look.
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I feel great about it. I don't know. Did you not recognize me?
No, Tim that I met.
You didn't have a beard at 11?
He was really like he was not bald.
Yeah, I could have.
He was really into his hair. He had like he was into British bands. Like there was the Stone Roses and the In Spiral Carpets and stuff like that were happening. There was like those kind of like shaggy mop heads and
Flock of Seagulls energy.
Yeah, Flock of Seagulls was big.
Yeah,
and Tim was really into that. You were a pretty vain kid.
I was a very vain kid. Yeah, I'm a pretty vain adult as well. Really? But
his fashion was good. It was a little more up the middle than it is now. I mean, now you prize yourself on making choices no one else would make.
Sure,
but back then he was like, you had deck shoes and you were like preppy. You were a solid prep.
Yeah, that was the look back then. You know, sort of Alex P. Keaton. If that means anything to anyone.
The fashion now is great, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I recognize.
I'm jealous of your existing relationship, of your continuing relationship to fashion, because mine is like, find one pair of jeans that I won't hate and black t-shirts.
Yeah,
done.
But we know what you looked like back then. Can you describe Damian, please?
I mean,
I had bleach blonde dreads for
bleach blonde dreads is like the main memory at 14,
11?
15.
No. I was 14 by then. One summer I wrapped copper.
Right.
I had a metal smithing class, and I wrapped copper around a bunch of my dreads. So I had metal. I literally had metal.
Which I really have never. I've never seen
That's
anyone
pretty
else
cool.
do that. Actually,
That's not healthy.
Pretty unique to you.
Something has to explain how I wound up here.
What?
I mean, Damian was a punk kid.
I was
different colored hair every week kind of guy.
Until it started falling out. Like I remember waking up on my homework and because fall asleep face down on my homework, and I remember picking my head up and just being like, man, that's some cool blue hair. Oh my God, that's my blue hair. Like it just, I dyed it so many times it just started literally falling out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, that's not weird anymore though, right? I mean, it was still pretty. My dad remembers going to my sister's college graduation in Philadelphia. She went to UPenn, and my dad remembers walking down the street and being like, "Why are these people yelling at us?" And like being, "Oh, my son." Like I guess just like people, and I was impervious to it. I was so used to people. I guess just like people being like "faggot," and like just anything. It was just all anybody who looked different was. Source of a lot of contention.
But a part of that is what got you here today.
I loved standing out differently then. It's not my thing anymore, but it was a lot of what I wanted when I was 15.
Had a lot of like Perry Farrell energy from Jane's Addiction.
I really loved Jane's.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I'm telling you, like a lot of that, like wanting to stand out, being fueled by all those people yelling things at you, it's motivation.
Well, I grew up in D.C., Washington, D.C., and there was an incredible punk scene there. Like it was so inclusive and so generous. Like there's this record label Discord, which was started by mostly by Ian MacKaye, the lead singer of Fugazi, and before that Minor Threat, and they have this really strict set of rules for the local scene, which was like all shows had to be all ages. Tickets prices couldn't be more than whatever, I think it was $5 at the time. Like tapes were $10 and LPs were $8, or I can't remember exactly what the things were, but it was sort of like they just had this set of sort of like maxims, and that pervaded the city, so that as a 13 or 14 or 15-year-old, I was going to see Fugazi and Shudder to Think like every couple of weeks, and like there was these amazing shows that if they go through Kalamazoo, where Tim grew up, you'd have to be 18 or 21 to see. In DC, it was always all ages, and so it was a really great place to grow up, and it did a great job of inviting me in to want to make stuff.
So how'd you guys keep in touch after camp?
Through mixtapes and the telephone.
Yeah.
I would say.
That's cool.
We spent a lot of time on the phone.
A phone with an actual cord that ran to an actual wall.
And you would like send in the mail mixtapes?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sick.
That's how I learned about Fugazi, Discord Records.
And how I learned about Pixies. You sent me my first Pixies song.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of great stuff from England. You were super into Britpop.
Yeah. That was also how I learned about like the DIY ethic, I think. That seemed very like DC centric.
There was a label called Simple Machines who did this amazing thing. They released for $1.50, I think you could get it, a pamphlet on how to make your own album. Like
That's cool.
It was like, here are the 3 mastering plans you can use in the States. Here's how much it will cost and what you need to expect. Here are it just walked you through it. And I started putting out 7-inches for my friends, like high school bands, because someone just gave you a guide. It's like, it was such a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And it was so normal to that scene.
Beanie Bubble, great movie.
Thank you.
What do you learn from directing a big studio picture?
It was, it's a lot more like steering a cruise ship and a lot less like driving a speedboat. I'm very, very proud of the movie. I think it's a really, really good movie. But it's also less personal to me than any music video or record we've ever made,
You're telling me your blood, sweat, and tears isn't woven into the fabric of the Beanie Babies?
No, it really is.
The movie, yes, but not the,
No, I never cared about Beanie Babies themselves. I just loved how ridiculous that story was.
It is crazy.
What's weird is like I worked harder on that movie, or as hard on that movie as I've worked on anything in my life, but there's just something different about about a cultural product that goes into people's homes and waits for them, and I never hear back from them. Like more people have seen that movie than will ever hear our albums, probably. Like potentially billions of people have seen that movie. Like I know a lot of people have seen that movie, but it's not like I got to be at the show, And there's some things. There's just there's a little bit of a difference where. When we are making a song, like I said, we're just in that bubble between the 2 speakers going like, does it feel right in here? And that's it. And when you're directing something for Apple, you can start with that, but you also have to do a lot else. You're one of 500 people on the crew, and you might be the one directing them, but it's just a much bigger thing to deal with. And you're one of many products that a tech company is selling. It's just a different world. I'm proud of it. I loved it, but it's also been really nice to be back in the world of music and our music videos where it's just it's smaller and more personal.
A speedboat.
Yeah, speedboat.
Would you do a movie again?
Yeah.
I did want to follow up when he mentioned NASA. Is that something you'd want to revisit and like try to one up the Upside Down video, or is that like one and done?
I believe that the only rule we've ever gotten from our guitarist, Andy, is that I will not go into space.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
But he didn't have to be in it.
Yeah, you guys could go.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you do know where you're at, right?
Yeah, it's true. Here we are.
Did he say that after experiencing no gravity, or is he just terrified of going to space?
I think that was after.
I'm sure it got worse after. He
Yeah.
probably felt that beforehand. I think the only reason he did the zero gravity video is like he agreed to it is because he thought it would never happen. But
That's right.
It took us 10 years to find a sponsor who was willing to make it. So he wasn't wrong. Like it did seem like it might never happen.
Can you explain to me how that works? Like, is there somebody just selling this consistently for 10 years, or is it just something you always bring up in your back pocket?
The latter. It was just that, like, Pepsi calls going like, we love your videos. We want to make a commercial with you guys. What would you do? Well, liquids have to be in zero gravity, obviously. If you want to see Pepsi look good, you got to put it in a zero G plane.
It's true.
Yeah. They didn't agree. And neither did like 40 other people we tried to pitch it to. We started working with brands earlier than most. It was scary as hell because it was like back when selling out was still a real thing. Like I think it's the pendulum has swung so far now that like brand sponsorships are like people are proud of them, you know. But we had State Farm paid for our Rube Goldberg machine video for This Too Shall Pass, and the terms were pretty clear. It was like you have to have the logo sometime like on screen for X number of seconds and a red element going throughout the whole thing. And we were like, okay, well, Tim will be covered in red paint. And he was. And it looked like, frankly, it's something you should be insuring against. Like,
right,
Tim,
totally.
Wait, that was a sponsored video?
Yeah,
Really? The
totally.
car at the front doesn't have the car at the front of the State Farm logo on it?
Yep.
I just realized that.
Wait, that's so...
Like that just registered in my head.
Well, we
It
were just
starts
like
with that.
it was early days for this type of branded content, right? And we were like, just thinking practically, we're like, we want all of the brand stuff to be handled in the first 5 seconds, so that the people will come on set, see that they've got their thing, and leave us alone, you know. and also like you don't want to get like those brand partnership things. If you make them a zero sum game where you're trying to steal their money or they're trying to steal your artistic cool, then there's no one wins, right?
Totally.
Like it never works. So it was just like, look, we'll give them exactly what they want straight up front. Like, here's your logo, boom. It's on the car that Tim starts the thing with, and there you go. And like, and there's and the end card had a like thank you to them for sponsoring it, and that was huge. You know, it was good, like I don't know, 20 or 50 million hits or something in the first week, and that was like, again, for that time, that was mammoth. And
That's still pretty big today.
I wouldn't even. Now I feel like don't TikTok stars get like $6 billion for opening a package or putting on eye makeup or something? Like
No, I mean, it's up there.
Yeah, it's high.
but it was like a genuine cultural moment where like everybody saw that, and it was and it made it a lot easier than in the future when people would want to do branded things. Just be like, look, here's what we do. Like, the thank you card at the end,
Yeah, you set
and
the template.
blah blah blah. You know, and I it's also, I think it helps. Like a lot of brands think immediately they're like, you got to like, it's all about the product or all about like saying our name right up front, and you're like, everybody who's watching this on their phone or their computer or whatever, like they've seen your ads a million times. If what they see is an ad, they're going to skip past it. What you want to do is wait till the end of the video when people are in their maximum set, like wonder and glory moment, because usually ours work in this arc, right? They build up to a sort of spectacle at the end that you can't believe you're watching. And hopefully that's the moment when whatever neurochemicals they are, whether it's serotonin or dopamine or whatever it is, like you're having your big moment of, holy shit, this is amazing. That's when you want to say thank you to our sponsors, right? They should want that.
Totally.
And that's also, from our perspective, much classier. And it's really like what it is the actual deal we're making. We're like, we get to make art for the people who like this stuff because of you. And you get access to those people because of us. And let's give them what they want, and then they'll be happy.
So who sponsored that video?
Which one?
The upside down video.
That was an airline called S7. No one knows them here because they're based in Russia. But they were moving from Russia into Europe, and they wanted something international to show it. And so if you were like the S7 logo's in the back of the plane for the entire thing, just nobody from America knows what that logo is.
Wow. And you got your video made.
Yeah, they were awesome to work with. I mean, it was before obviously the like Russian-American relations got rocky, and it was so cool. Like we met with one of the executives there, and they were just like, "We love the stuff you do. What would you do if we gave you a plane?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I've been waiting for this question for 10 years." You know, it was like, but once again, like, if that had been United Airlines, can you imagine them being like, this is what it's like to be on one of our airplanes? Like, you don't in real flying, you don't want to feel zero gravity. Like that's not a good sign for your passenger plane if people start to lose gravity. Like it means you're flying towards the ground very fast, you know. But they were cool about it. They were like, they got it. They were like, this is all about a sense of wonder and joy and play and getting people just to go like, what just happened? Like, if you can get somebody's curiosity like that, you've broken through the noise, and that's all they should really want, you know.
Have there been any music video production nightmares?
Yeah,
yeah, all of them.
I mean, you guys wanted to dive into Echo Park Lake.
We did want to dive into Echo Park Lake.
That would have been bad.
We would have had.
You probably wouldn't be here right now.
Definitely different types of hepatitis. And,
a lot of these videos have gotten down to the wire, like within the last hour of time that we have before we actually get it, and that's scary.
But also a high.
Yes,
totally.
There is a sort of high from it. Stepping back to our earliest Chicago days, we had a show one Friday night, and when we went to go pick up our gear at our practice space, the practice space was on fire, and there was a fire truck in the street shooting water at the building. Turned out our practice space was not in the part that was on fire, and strangely, the firemen let us in. They were like, "Okay, go up and get your stuff." And there's like water rushing down the stairs as we went and like loaded our stuff out and got to our show. And as we pulled out of our practice space, we look up at the billboard above our practice space and saw Chico DeBarge, who is hawking Martell cognac.
Martell, yeah.
And there was this big sign of him, and it just says Chico DeBarge leaning down, and the sign said, "If your man won't pour, I will." And at that moment, we knew that Chico DeBarge was the patron saint of our band, and that he would test us. That he was he was a little bit of a naughty patron, you know. Like,
yeah.
And most of our videos, Chico has revisited us on like the night before the shoot. For like we made a video where we were driving a car through. It was stunt driving a car through a musical obstacle course. It wound up being a Super Bowl ad for Chevy, where we're driving this. I had to take stunt driving lessons and everything, and it was like 50 pianos out in the desert, 57 pianos out in the desert. And the night before we shot, Chico sent the worst Santa Ana winds in 50 years and knocked over half the pianos, like a wind that can knock over a piano. But we got the shot.
That's right.
Really?
And like This Too Shall Pass one, there was a drunk driver hit the power transformer for the whole block at 11 the night before when we were pulling an all-nighter to finish the thing. And after we're all inside in the dark trying to figure out how to get our power tools back on, a guy high on PCP tried to break in the back door. He found a radial saw that we'd been using and started pounding the door open.
Yeah, we're just like, Chico,
why have you done this? Most of our videos have one of those moments.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're nightmares, but they're
they're not nightmares.
They're like hiccups, hurdles.
They're Chico sponsored events.
But ultimately, those events make you better.
Yeah, CSEs.
That's right.
Thank you.
Man won't pour, I will.
Yep.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging out today.
Thanks so much for having
Thanks
us.
for having
Really
us.
appreciate you. All of OK Go's music is waiting for you. It's all on Amazon Music, okay? Click the link below. You good?
Yeah, you guys just mentioned Super Bowl ad. I would love to see what you guys would come up with for a Super Bowl halftime show. It would be crazy.
A halftime show.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
You get to execute live.
Oh, man, that would be insane.
You're ripping
We're
your hair
ready.
out.
That'd be rather
We're ready.
fun.
If you're listening, NFL, we're ready.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. The entire NFL listens to your show. Right?
Yeah, the whole thing, top to bottom.
Roger Goodell all the way down.
Yeah, every single one.
Did anyone get hurt while shooting the treadmill video? There's no way you
Bumps and bruises.
There were some waffle tread bruises.
Yeah,
on
like
the back.
falling, right?
There was some falling.
Yeah.
You could get pretty good and chewed up. Like in the middle, if you had two that are going towards each other, you can get a good rug burn from that. Psychologically, I'd say it was more painful than it was mostly like it was the first time we were trying like those long routines where you get all the way in and screw up and hate yourself.
I was doing it all in these like white Cuban heels, and so I think which led to knee damage later.
Yeah,
but not in the moment, I would say. Yeah.
Dan, our drummer, has really injured himself on several of the videos. One was there's one for the song "Do What You Want" where we tried to catalog every type of movement we could think of, but in camouflage. So we wear these crazy suits that are like they're like wallpaper suits basically, and we're against a wallpaper backdrop, and we're just trying to like watch just the movement. And there was a professional pogo sticker,
stickist, I think.
who had come with this like insane pogo stick he could do like triple flips on.
Whoa.
And Dan, bless his soul, decided he would, on the cement floor of this warehouse, also try a flip on one.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
I think he cracked a rib, right?
No, that one I think was his tailbone.
Oh, it was his tailbone, right?
The rib crack was in Upside Down and Inside Out, the Zero Gravity video. He, like, when you're in zero gravity, if you want to fly across a room, you just you can push very lightly on the wall because that you will now move the other direction, right? But your body wants to act like it's swimming, so you kick off of a wall really hard, and he didn't quite get the hang of this, and he just rocketed himself into the ceiling so hard that he actually broke his collarbone.
Yeah, that's right.
Which he didn't even know till he got
didn't
back.
know
He was
it.
like, "This hurts a little bit," and then he went to a doctor, and they were like, "Yeah, that's your broken collarbone."
Whoa.
So yeah, some injuries.
Some injuries.
Yeah.
And you know what? Risk is worth the reward, man.
I'm not sure Dan would say the same.
Oh, he's stronger because of it.
Exactly.
He's healed.
Is that why you used the seatbelt in the video? You were like, I'm keeping myself strapped in here?
I was very afraid of the zero gravity video. I stayed strapped in as long as I could.
Yeah. I noticed that you're the only one with the seatbelt on, I think.
Maybe. That's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Safety first, right, Tim?
Safety first. But I had to let it go at some point.
That's so interesting. I want to do that. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thank you.
I really appreciate this.
This has been so fun.
And the Adjacent Possible is waiting for you. Link below on Amazon Music. You good?
Yep.
Okay, go. Thanks for hanging.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.